wondered whether or not homeschooling could be better than sending your kids to public school? Perhaps you're tired of the schools telling you when you can take a vacation, when you can take a holiday, or you just got notice of the next day off. You know, those days where the teacher work days, as they call them. Well, I'm going to take some time to teach you a little bit about the facts of homeschooling. Some of the facts, not all of them, because I don't have time to go over everything. We started homeschooling when my kids were in middle school, and they were in a failing public education system at the time. And both of them were struggling learners. They both had learning disabilities, and my husband and I decided to team teach them together. And we took them from middle school right on through high school, and we did it successfully. So what exactly is homeschooling? Homeschooling is teaching your child one-on-one. It is legal in all 50 states, and 2/3 of the states actually have laws, and they authorize homeschooling. In the state of Virginia, you are not required to have a teaching license, and you are only required to teach 180 days, which is exactly what public schools are required to do in our state. To give you an idea of exactly how many homeschoolers there are in the U.S., USA Today magazine in September 2009 had an article entitled "Homeschooling, the Sleeping Giant of Education." In this article, it talked about if this year, 2009-2010, the approximate 3 million homeschoolers decided to go to school, return to school, that states and communities were going to have to find funds and allocate them to actually accommodate all these students. 3 million students, funding for all those students. Can you imagine where they were going to find that money? I'm thinking tax dollars. And I'm also thinking I'm already paying a lot of tax dollars. And that's 3 million students that their parents chose to take them out of the public schools. Think about it. Those parents had a reason, right? So now let's take a look at the pros of homeschooling. Number one, you can choose what you're going to teach and how long you're going to work on that. When your child has mastered something, you just move on. And you can also gear that toward what they are interested in, and you can use that across the curriculum. For example, if they're interested in horses, you can take that into social studies, you can take that into science, you can move that over into write about it in language arts. You just learn to be creative, and you can inspire your child, and they will get their joy of learning back in the process. You learn how to teach to their learning style. You get a book like The Way They Learn that helps you to assess that. You discover what your learning style is and what theirs is, and then you learn to teach to theirs. Guess what? Yours may not be theirs, so keep that in mind, and you learn to teach to theirs. Another thing is you might have a struggling learner that has a learning disability. There are lots of books out there that will teach you about learning disability, and there are lots of resources out there on the web, much more than when I was homeschooling. So the information's there. Just go find it, utilize it, and find a way to help your child. You're going to set your own schedule, your hours, your holidays, your vacation. Nobody else is going to tell you when it's going to have to be. And guess what? You can take vacation when everybody else has to be in school. We did it, and you'd have a blast. So now that we talked about some of the pluses, what are some of the minuses? Some of the cons. Well, number one on the con side would be people will talk about socialization. Well, who said the best place for people to learn how to be social would be with only the same age group? I'm going to tell you, I had my kids with all different kind of ages, and I think they learned just fine with them. Older and younger, I think they learned just fine. My daughter played basketball. My son was into music. He actually was self-taught, taught himself how to play guitar, and he was on the worship team and youth band. And they did a tremendous amount of learning on their own. I can't say enough about it. You find something that they enjoy and you just plug them in. It's that simple. Socialization will happen. You just find something that they want to do and you just plug them in. End of story. Number 2, time commitment. You're going to spend a lot of time and you need to be willing to commit to it. Number 3, personal sacrifice. You're going to spend a lot of time with your child, and don't think that you're not going to have those days where you're just going to have some conflict. It's going to happen. Don't forget to take some time for yourself. It's very important to take care of yourself. So maybe while they're getting some of that socialization, get some socialization for yourself. Take some time for yourself. Take some downtime for yourself. Take a little time away from them. You need it. You need a break too. In addition to that, if you're losing an income, you need to make sure that you consider that. When it affects your pocketbook, you're going to have to look at ways to cut back on your spending. We adjusted to losing the income, and actually we have been without that income for several years now, and we don't even miss it anymore. Actually, God has been good to us, and He's actually made up the difference for me not working. So, you do what works for your family. So what about research? What does the research say about homeschoolers? Well, homeschoolers have come a long way. Lawrence Rudner says in his K-12 research in 1998, in grades 1 through 4, the kids pull ahead 1 year. But by the time they reach grade 8, he finds that these kids excel 4 years ahead of their peers nationally. And that's a big jump. And Brian Ray says that they score 15 to 30 percentile points in front of the rest when they take their standardized tests. And these tests, on average, it doesn't matter about where the parent's income is, it doesn't matter their education, nor does it matter how much the state actually is monitoring them. Across the board, they are ahead of the rest of the game, of the people that are being tested. And also, colleges are actually actively pursuing homeschoolers. They want them in their colleges. What does that say about homeschoolers? Finally, as adults, what does this say? Well, adults, homeschoolers, they do more community service, they vote more, they attend more public meetings, and they actually have those values and morals that their parents have instilled in it. They are so deeply ingrained in them that compared to the general population, all these things rank very high in them. They are also self-starters and they are independent thinkers. I have shared just a few things about homeschooling. So in conclusion, I'd like to invite you to investigate this a little bit more on your own. And I hope that I've showed you that parents can be at the helm of the ship of their kids. They can light the way for their children, for their futures. You can give a safe place for your kids. And homeschooling really has an answer when it comes to achievement and to the future of your child to help them become independent and self-starters. And it can be the beginning of a brand new life for your kids. Thank you.